the mainstream media that we're accustomed to, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, the lot of them, as well as many of the local affiliates. This is not fake news. It's not hashtag fake news. They are intentionally shutting down truthful information and intentionally lying to the public to further this Marxist movement.
You can all feel it. You can see it. This is America's darkest hour since we were founded. I mean, this is we can't fall from without. This is the big attack plan to bring us down from within.
The answer is at the local level. Local school board citizens driving local police, school boards, local elected officials. It's at that level that we will win or lose this war town by town, county by county.
7 days out, Trump is set to speak in about 2 hours. We'll cover that during the War Room, 3 to 6 p.m. Central, there in Pittsburgh. The left, the mayor, the sheriff are saying, don't come here. It's your fault. Sickening behavior. The rabbi says, of course, come here. And John Gondalo is a patriot, a veteran, a counterterrorism expert, and he runs one of the premier organizations exposing radical Islam and its infiltration of our government, understandingthethreat.com. And he also is the author of the book, Raising a Jihad Generation. He put out a totally truthful tweet today pointing out that it's the left. Even when I went to college 25 years ago, I mean, it was like every class, I'm like, I'm in Texas history and they're bad-mouthing Jews? I was like, I thought we beat Hitler. Man, I tell you. And you hear them loving the Palestinian suicide bombers and loving Hamas and loving the Palestinian Authority. And when cops get killed, CNN, MSNBC, remember back during Black Lives Matter, well, cops are doing bad, so, you know, people are mad. They have been giving tacit approval to shooting police for no reason. They have been giving tacit approval and open approval to the UN and George Soros saying overthrow Israel. And I believe Israel has a right to exist, and I'm glad that there's a place in the Middle East that isn't a total hellhole. God, if you let the radical jihadis in, they'd all kill each other. They say Israel's supposed to let everybody in, and then Saudi Arabia won't even let one, quote, refugee in. So John Gondalo got suspended on Twitter, 7 days out. So did Laura Loomer, who's joining us next segment. They're going to be on together. For saying shooter in Pittsburgh, Robert Bowers, put that tweet back up for me, thanks, is a product of the Marxist Party of America's call for violence. Yeah, they're the ones that have created this atmosphere. Remember, Nazis were socialists. That's what Nazi means, National Socialists. Leftists, remember, KKK, Democrat organization, which is true. So he's a patriot, all these things, worked overseas in counterterrorism here, some of the most dangerous operations. He doesn't even have a voice now. And then once they silence him, they can lie about him. Lie through it about me. So, John, thanks for coming on. But watching them say, the president's at fault, and he's anti-Semitic, and he needs to decry his white nationalism. The level of deception is becoming insane.
Well, you just nailed it, Alex, and I appreciate you being a voice for this. It's the deception. You know, the article that Understanding the Threat, my organization, put out last week, and the one we just put out this morning about really laying this out from when you understand the Marxist organization, and I believe you do, and the jihadi movement in the United States, the Islamic movement, how they're working together, you start to see the coordination just through the events and the way that we respond. So, for instance, when Robert Bowers, he's quoted as saying, prior to the quote that we first heard that he wants to kill all Jews, that this is for the genocide that's being done to our people or my people. And so we need to kill all the Jews, was his comment. So the question is, who's his people? Because the only people being accused of having a genocide committed against them by Jews are Palestinians or Hamas. So was he identifying himself as a part of Hamas? That's just an investigative question that hasn't been asked. But the reason I bring this up is because when you tie in the Islamic Center of Pittsburgh donating $100,000 or more, or saying that they say they've raised over $100,000, Well, that is a Muslim Brotherhood organization. It's owned by the North American Islamic Trust, which is a Muslim Brotherhood bank. The leaders are Muslim Brotherhood. And so
who just launched the Arab Spring, killing close to 1 million people and women in sex slavery, whose pledge is to drive Israel into the sea. That's what's so sick is the left supports that. Obama supports that. And then they point their finger at Trump and say he's an anti-Semite?
Well, that's exactly right. So the question is, with everything you're touching on and the shutting down of free speech by against myself, Laura, and many others, and then the information operation or the propaganda, which is propaganda is almost too soft a word because this is a very thoughtful war that they're engaged in. Do you think it's accidental, the timing of being shut down on Twitter while they're marching an army of Marxists up from Central America? Why last week they sent fake bombs to themselves, while this week we're seeing shut down on Twitter, the attack on Saturday by a Nazi, Obama supporter, Trump hater, who says, we're joined because of the Jews' genocide against us. This is, when you break this down, you can see not only the Marxists and the jihadis working together, which we do at the ground level, the Black Lives Matter and Hamas leaders in the United States.
It's all coordinated by Soros. And when Lou Dobbs shows the proof, they then ban the show when they have all the Judicial Watch documents. So as a former FBI top terrorism expert, currently a top terrorism expert with all your sources, they're clearly trying a destabilization. What Reagan was even worried about, that Rex 84 was supposed to counter. Clearly, then, give us the bottom line. Building towards this, what does it, because they're all coordinated, what is it coordinated towards?
It's coordinated towards bringing down the Republic. Look, we have leadership in the FBI that applied knowingly using information that was false and withholding truthful information to get a FISA affidavit for technical coverage against the man who became president of the United States, Donald Trump. This is the state of affairs we're in. We have leaders, as you have articulated, including the former president and attorney general, calling for violence, and then people do violence, like when Steve Scalise, congressman, was shot by a Democrat, an Obama-supporting Marxist. This is real, and I think Americans, what I encourage Americans to do is, number one, understand this is a real war, and as Angelo Codavia wrote recently, that all the markers are lined up for real civil war, real revolution, because all the historical
I agree. That's what they're trying, and I don't want martial law, but the Democrats want a civil emergency. They want to create the emergency, and there's a threat continuum here, but at a certain point, it becomes a dereliction of duty if we and the president and others don't just state the facts and then respond and block them. And that's a whole nother discussion we can come back in the next segment with Laura Loomer and yourself and get into. What can we all do? Because there's no doubt, you can all feel it, you can see it. This is America's darkest hour since we were founded. I mean, we can't fall from without. This is the big attack plan to bring us down from within. Do you think that's accurate?
I do, and I would say as a preface to what we're going to talk about in the next segment, the answer is at the local level. Local school board citizens driving local police, school boards, local elected officials. It's at that level that we will win or lose this war town by town, county by county.
That's right, because Trump isn't perfect. He can't dig all these people out at the federal level. And the Marxists are all about, think global, act local. They're all dug in. And so you have to go and openly oppose them and what they're doing, or we don't have a hope. But if you do that, we have way more than hope. We will win, because what they're pushing is pure evil. We'll be right back. All right, John Gondola's our guest. We got Laura Loomer. She's about to come on as well. They were both suspended for 7 days on Twitter for the election, obviously, for saying it's the left that's anti-Jew. It's the Nazis that were National Socialists. Stop blaming Trump. But, they're all allowed to blame Trump or blame America. If you look at Marxist ideas, they want to overthrow the government in the country and collapse things so they can take over. It's really simple. It's an internal strategy of not being a foreign army, but coming in and infiltrating and sowing seeds of deceit. And John Gondola is an expert on this. He runs Understanding the Threat. He's written books on the subject, understandingthethreat.com. And I totally agree with you that historically, if you look at everything that's going on and what's being done in Europe by Soros and others, They admit it is a takeover plan, and it's so outrageous, it's almost like if Trump and others don't respond with really serious action, not just troops on the border, that it's almost tacitly agreeing with it. I mean, they had Judicial Watch on Lou Dobbs, and they banned the segment saying they're human smuggling. The border's open. They're bringing in tens of thousands of invaders. They're attacking police with bombs and guns. They're invaders. And then they take that down, not because it's a lie, but because it's true. It's like, who made Soros and the Democrats God to commit all these crimes, John?
Well, first of all, I do want to say that the media, obviously present company excluded, but the mainstream media that we're accustomed to, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, the lot of them, as well as many of the local affiliates, this is not fake news. It's not hashtag fake news. They are intentionally shutting down truthful information and intentionally lying to the public to further this Marxist movement. And when you look at it in that vein, it's not merely fake information, it's propaganda to further a hostile movement whose objective, as you said, and by the way, you can go to Communist Party USA, you can go to Freedom Road Socialist Organization, you can read it on their websites. Their objective is to bring down the republic, to remove what they call the colonial power in America, to bring it down so they can implement their Marxist system, be it socialism or communism.
And Alexander Soros this year and last year bought full ads saying overthrow Trump and Pence, drive them from power. And then when I covered it, they had articles saying Jones is lying. That's not in the New York Times. Then everyone went and bought it and said it is in there, and that really freaked people out. What is it, this lying they do, where they lie even though it discredits them? It's really weird.
Well, because the point is that they're counting on the fact that historically, you know, the bigger the lie, the more people will buy it. And what they're being so brash right now, the fact that they sent themselves bombs that aren't even bombs, they are fake, inert bombs. And they all were sent in a way that they were sure to be screened and sure to be discovered. When you look at it in that light, you have to ask, just like you have to ask, why did the Islamic Center of Pittsburgh, a known jihadi organization, Muslim Brotherhood, say they're raising money for a Jewish synagogue? There's a reason behind it. And in each case, it's to create an information campaign or build on an information campaign to deceive the public, to take everyone's eye off the ball. Somebody who donates $100,000 to a Jewish synagogue surely can't be a bad organization, right? That's exactly.
So let me ask you this. You're a smart profiler, highly respected. What do you gut level expect comes next? Because like you said, I've had post office experts on saying those bombs had the textbook fake packaging to make you check it. Everything was done like by a trainer. Basically, a high-level people did this.
Well, right, and I think it was done with the knowledge of the people that were receiving them. That's the point. I think what people are having a hard time grasping is that the leadership of the jihadi and the Marxist movements are actually sitting in rooms discussing next steps for the strategy. What I expect is what they say. I think it's going to become more violent. Remember, the Marxists are the tool for the Islamic movement. So while you have the Marxists shooting people and killing people, the Muslims are saying they're going to present a $100,000 check. The Marxists are the tool for the jihadi movement, and they have been for some time, and it's only going to get worse. And when, by the way, Turkey declares the caliphate at some point in the not too distant future, because they're already expanding their power here in the United States.
I was about to say, you were saying that 10 years ago, and I rolled my eyes, but they've said they're announcing a caliphate.
That's right. That's right. And they're going to. And the way it plays into all that we're looking at is because this is coming very soon. And so you see the violence from the Marxists is the predecessor to the caliphate, and they will be in the United States.
And if Americans will capitulate to them saying we're going to sexualize your kids, or we'll say you're politically incorrect, we'll capitulate to bombs going off every day, and the left allied with the radical Muslims. And so we have to wake up and do something. John, I really thank you for your time. Please come back for a full hour in the next 7 days, because so much is happening, and I'm just glad there's people like you. In closing, so I'm going to come back and do 1 second with Laura Loomer and then go to calls. I mean, I know the average FBI agent is a good, hardworking man or woman, and I know that Trump's trying to get good people in, but you see the reality winners, you see all these operatives they've got in there, and it's just worse than we ever thought. I mean, how a dead reckoning guesstimation. Like, what are there, like 3 groups? Just average folks that are doing their job, people that are more Christian, conservative, nationalist, liberals. I mean, what are the groups? Because it's like, this is so obvious. Like the caravan's attacking people. New ones are smashing over. It's all illegal. Trump's bad for wanting to do something to people child smuggling. I mean, it's just crazy. So who are these people?
Well, I think if you look at the war and you take the segments, obviously you've got these, the folks coming from down south, clearly they are Marxist invaders. When we look inside...
Oh, they organize them at these camps with Soros that's admitted.
That's
They're
right.
waving flags saying, down with America.
That's right. When we look at, you know, to your point, when we look at the FBI, the problem in the FBI is that the average agent, and especially the average counterterrorism agent, is not trained on the Marxist movement or on the Islamic movement. They are trained to investigate individuals who want to do any kind of violence. That's it.
Yeah, they're not looking at, like with drug dealers, who the kingpin is. They're looking at the street level pusher, which is impossible. They're not looking at the infrastructure and the system that creates it. They're looking at the lone individual.
Right. So when they look at an event like the Boston Marathon bombing, they don't look at the Islamic Society of Boston, which is a jihadi Muslim Brotherhood organization, or any of the other attacks like what just happened, where you have there's no FBI agent looking at this going, why would a jihadi organization give a Jewish synagogue a check? Well, there's a nefarious reason, because we know who these guys are. In the same way, if you look at these Marxists, the ones that are not calling for violence, although there's very few of them these days, you look at the organizations and who they're working with, and you know that this is what they support. But again, the FBI is not looking at it from that
Well, sure, but
perspective.
isn't it like Sinn Féin, IRA? It's good cop, bad cop.
Well, of course. But even, I wouldn't have said that, and I still don't, that Sinn Féin was a good cop. They just pretended to be.
No, exactly. That's exactly. All right, enemies, foreign and domestic. We got Matt Bracken coming up right now. This is understandingthethreat.com. Thank you, John.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
He goes to jail. He goes to jail. Lock him up.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
We need to go back and revisit the foundations of our freedom. Our freedoms don't consist of the things that are enumerated on a piece of paper. It consists of the things that we're willing to fight for. The First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, the rest of the Bill of Rights are prohibitions. They're prohibitions against powerful organizations and individuals taking those God-given rights from us as individuals. You better understand that, because they're taking them right now. We have seen what they want to do. They called it UN Agenda 21. Now they call it the UN 2030 Agenda. They want everybody off of the rural lands. They want people out of the suburbs. They want to pack everybody into the cities, because that's where it is easiest for them to control everyone.
Never missed your show any day. I mean, never.
The Real Red Pill Plus, ladies and gentlemen. Our team is constantly on the lookout for newer and better ways to improve our products. That's why we're bringing you a brand new version of one of the newest fan favorite products, the Real Red Pill Plus. The Real Red Pill Plus is an all-new version of the powerhouse Pregnenolone product. It features the same great formula that supports your heart, brain, healthy aging process with an all-new natural caffeine boost included. A powerful Pregnenolone base, the Real Red Pill, has quickly become one of our fellow InfoWarriors' favorite products. Now, with an extra proprietary energy blend inside, including green tea extract, yerba mate leaf extract, and more, you can get that extra pick-me-up, all supporting your mind and body in a healthy way. It's got all the great stuff that Real Red Pill has, but it's also got the boost in it. Get the Real Red Pill Plus at InfoWarsStore.com.